Hey Fit Fam, thanks for getting here today, and we're going to discuss hip mobility and lack thereof, and possible tightness through your back, possible knee pain, ankle pain, maybe even going up the spine. But it all stems from tight hips, muscles being overactive, and other muscles being underutilized, or maybe they're dormant, and you're having a hard time getting that mind-to-muscle connection. Usually, it's the glutes. Now, if you set up your hands right on your waist, you're just kind of standing there waiting for something, but your hands are on your hips. Now you should notice your pointer finger, your forefingers to the front, feeling on some soft tissue. Your thumb should be around the side of your glutes, the side of your bum, the gluteus medius. Those two areas, the hip flexors, the TFL, they're all kind of part of each other, interconnected. But the gluteus medius, those muscles tend to kind of play on each other, where this tends to be tight, from sitting, if you sit a lot. And the gluteus medius, the gluteus maximus, tends to be inactive or not as engaged as it should be to support you when you walk or maybe run, or even when you do exercises, certain strength training exercises. I'm going to guide you through everything. Mobility and some strength training moves that can help you activate those glutes and release a little tension through your hips. Let's start with the seated position. Now I'm going to give you a lot of varieties, and we're going to try to, expedite this, and you pick and choose what works well for you. 30 to 60 seconds. But from a seated chair, we're going to do the figure 4 stretch, where you get your ankle over that thigh or on top of that thigh behind the kneecap. It's resting on your quad. And from here, you play with the height. If this is good for you, don't apply pressure. If you feel like you need more, put some pressure, your elbow, your forearm, and be gentle. Everything we do, you have to be gentle, be mindful of your body. Don't overdo it. Be careful. And then you do the other side. Now, I always recommend foam rolling, and we're going to get into that later too, but I'm going to give you some chair stretches, some standing and floor stretches, so you have a lot of variety to choose from. And depending on your situation, you can make things work for you. Hamstrings are always great to do as well. From here, left leg straight, one hand on top of the other. Now depending on your spine, you could really, mind your posture, and it's almost like you're doing an RDL, or Romanian deadlift, and you're hinging from the hips. But if you don't have spinal issues, you can totally bend forward and try to reach as far forward as you can with both hands extending to the front, grabbing your toes, maybe your shins, around the calf. But you get a little forward bend and you kind of stretch out that back. You can get both sides. Now, if you're at your desk, you got to back up so that your head doesn't hit that desk. Even if you're at home on the couch, just be mindful of what's in front of you. And this is a great stretch to do for the hamstrings if you sit a lot. Right? These two moves are great for you if you sit. The floor version, if you're down on the ground, 90-90 stretch is always great. Where we get that left knee underneath the sternum, left elbow right next to that left knee, and then the right elbow is next to your left ankle, and we're just reaching. Getting that good 90 degrees in the front leg. The 90 degrees in the back leg doesn't really matter as much. It's very similar to the pigeon. But instead, we're on the ground, the bum is on the floor, the left glute is down, left knee, leg extended out, good 90-degree bend. And you go to the other side. So this is the floor version if you can't do the seated version, or if you prefer the floor version over the seated. Again, it depends on your situation. And we get both sides, 30 to 60 seconds. Right? Creating a little bit of mobility through your hips, getting a little release through your lower back. And now we'll work into the hip flexor stretch. So you'll have one leg forward, other knee down. Tuck in the toes on the back foot. Since my left leg is down, I want you to think about, if you're doing the same side as me, squeezing your left glute. Right leg forward. Try to think about your right foot out a little bit in front of the right knee so that your shin is angled towards that front wall that's directly in front of you. Posture's tall, use a chair or something sturdy to support you. And you should feel a little pull through your hip flexor here. If you want extra, reach up. If you need to hold on, but get the other arm up and lean back a little. You could even twist. Since my right leg is forward, I'm going to turn to my right and twist. And you feel a little stretch through your hip flexor, maybe even into the TFL to the side, the outside of that hip flexor, and you want to get both sides. Depending on your situation, again, if you're at the office, or maybe this one bothers your knee as you go to the other side, maybe you need a little cushion, but make sure you get both sides. But if this one's too much and it's just too tough, get on your feet. And the move is almost the same. Obviously, the only difference is that knee isn't down on the ground. But the back leg is straight, the toes are down, the balls of the feet are down. You have a little width, length, posture's tall. Still think about squeezing the glute on the back leg. My left leg is forward, so I'm going to turn and twist to my left. And you get the right arm up, you lean back, or you're just holding, or you're just here. Everyone's different. Every stretch is different for every person, every body. So you have to figure out what's good for you. Maybe both of them give you something different. From the desk, you can easily do this. I mean, you can check emails and do this one. It's not that hard. But you do feel that stretch through the hip flexor here. And then, of course, to the right, you twist to the right. Right leg forward, turn and twist to your right. So standing and sitting, you have options. Standing, working on the hamstrings, it's like doing an RDL. If your spine can handle it, everyone's different with this whole stretch about the hamstrings. Some people say don't do it. Some people say do it. Watch your spine, don't watch your spine. Whatever works for you. I like to do a little bit of both. I like getting the RDL version. Little bend in the knee, hips go back. Posture, right? Your spine is neutral, but you're hinging at the waist, the hips. You have a flat lower lumbar. Loading through your heels, the arches, keeping the balls of the feet down, the toes down, gripping. But forcing those hips back like you're trying to close a car door. And it doesn't matter how low you get with the hands. Now the other version is totally bending at the spine, bending forward, a forward bend. And you get a little back stretch. Everyone's different, whatever works for you. Now, moving on to the quads, the rectus femoris. Now, there's other muscles there, sartorius, and then there's the vastus lateralis, medius lateralis, all of it, all part of the quadricep. We want to stretch the quads too. Now, the standing version, pretty common. We've seen this quite a bit. See a lot of runners doing this. And yeah, runners get really tight quads. Our glutes tend to be underactive. Let's go to the other side. Now, our glutes tend to be underactive. We're going to try to activate those. So again, releasing tension before we get into our actual muscle contractions is going to be key. If you want to do this from the floor, you can. Not everyone has the mobility through the knee to do this. But you can lay on your side, top leg bent, grabbing that foot, holding here. Again, you have both variations that you can do, standing on the ground. Can't do this from a chair. Not going to happen. And that's all right. Now, if you have trouble with bending your knee, maybe you have knee problems. Maybe it just hurts. Could be part of the whole, hip issue. But it could be the tight quads. Now, here's where the roller is just a great, great tool to provide what's called self-myofascial release, which is just another fancy way of calling it a self-massage. You're going to lay down and you're going to get into a plank position. So you're going to get that roller close to your knees, and then we get down elbows down, and we roll on those quads. And so this is a great alternative for bending that leg and grabbing your foot and stretching out your quadriceps. Relax your toes, relax your feet, relax your ankles. If you can do this at work, I would highly recommend it, even if it's just for 30 seconds. Even if it's just a small roller. We have those half rollers. That might work. You might be able to sneak it in a little bit and get a little massage. Otherwise, get to your feet, pull the foot, get a good quad stretch. If you find a spot, rest on it. A tender spot. Just rest on it, breathe through it, 30 to 60 seconds, just like our stretching. You don't need much more than a minute. Now, if you can, remember that position where our hands were? Those 4 fingers to the front of our pelvis, right next to the pelvis. We want to massage that area, not the hip bone. That's a little higher up. A little lower, right above your pockets, right in that area. That's what we're going to want to try to stretch. And you're going to lay down on your side. And again, that soft tissue area, you want to get right on it so your pelvis is tilted a little to the front. And you're leaning into it. And it's almost like I'm in a side plank. The front leg, the top leg to the front if you want. I mean, that's what I would recommend, honestly. Get that front foot, that top leg to the front. Right foot forward. So that way the left foot is back, the left leg is back, and it exposes that TFL so you can get in there. From here, you could even work to the back, and then hopefully you feel the gluteus medius back there. Now I'm going to show you another version to the gluteus medius, the piriformis. Right, now you might need to get a little lower. But now go to the other side. So now the TFL on the other side, right? Again, imagining, kind of squeeze it so you can become aware of it, where it is. So you have a reference so that you can get right in there with the roller and apply pressure. And if it hurts and it's painful, you just rest on it. Sometimes you don't feel much. So it's okay to just kind of continue through the range of motion, going back and forth, or if you prefer, holding it. But if you find a painful spot, for sure you want to hold it there, kind of work it out, maybe do small little rolls, then wait and pause on there. Work your way to the back glute. And now that top leg is to the back and it exposes that bottom glute. And you might need to get a little lower. You may or may not feel it. But now, specifically for the glutes, you have a couple of options. I'm going to tilt my knees, my legs to the right. Legs are bent, feet are down. I'm going to tilt to the right, my right hand is down. You can have both hands down. But lean those legs to the side, the same side, the right side. And then roll up and down the side of your glute where hopefully you were earlier with the roller, just now, just a few moments ago. If you can, get that leg up. So this adds a little extra to the stretch. It actually lengthens your glute a little bit, exposing that tissue so that you can get in there. And if you find a spot, try to rest on it. And there's a little spot there. It's not much, but hey, it's all right. Even if you don't feel like it's really painful, it doesn't mean it's not doing anything for your body. It is. It's providing some release, increasing the blood flow, lengthening the muscle tissue. So even if you don't feel excruciating pain, doesn't mean it's not benefiting you. And we go to the other side and it's the same thing. And we continue to move side to side or up and down until you find that sweet spot. And once you find it, you just try to rest on it. Sometimes, and most times, the ball, a lacrosse ball, would be a really good way to get in there. It really just cranks it up a notch, but that's for another time. So now, let's move on. We're there. We're in it. The exercises, the top two that are going to help you. On your back. So no matter what, you have to get on the floor. Can't give you an office version of this. We get into a bridge. Now, the bridge, the biggest thing with the bridge is your stance. Get just a natural hip width. Don't go too wide. Don't come in too much. Just get a nice good width that's comfortable. Now your feet, heels down, nice and flat. Your feet, your heels should not be too close to your bum. If they are, you might feel a big pull through your quads. We don't want that. Move out. Now, if you move out too far, you might feel the hamstrings. We don't want that either. So you have to figure out that happy medium. Not too close in, but not too far out. Once you're there, squeeze the glutes. Now be careful with your back. You don't want to arch. Do not arch. So you want to lift up just enough so that your lower lumbar is neutral and there's no back pain other than the pain that happens from the muscle contraction, and that's a different type of pain. I'm talking about pain that leads to injury or a possible strain. This is just working muscle, lactic acid buildup, that type of burning sensation. If you feel the hamstrings, you bring it in. Lift up a little more, squeeze. The key is squeezing your glutes together. Holding and squeezing. If it gets tough, take a break. Now here, 30 to 60 seconds is great. If you're still with me, perfect. Keep it going. If you need to take a break, take a break. We're just doing this one time, and then you're done. Now, if you feel like you might need extra, again, just like the stretching, you might need to do it again later in the day, depending on when you're doing this. But definitely once a day, you want to be doing some of those stretches that we've already done, picking and choosing what was best for you and the situation you're in. And no matter what, you always want to do these two moves. Now, coming down, we're moving on. To your side, bottom leg is bent. I'm sorry, I said 2. I meant 3. And that happens. Sometimes I misguide you a little, but it's not on purpose. Elbow below your shoulder, right? Your knee should be in that front knee, the bottom knee, should be in somewhat of an alignment with that down elbow. Right? You shouldn't be way out in front or too far back. Try to line up that knee with that elbow. And then we extend out. And then from here, you should see and feel the pelvis come forward and line up with the rest of the body. Now from here, arms up. Point the toes down on that top leg. You're in a side plank position. Toes down, heel is up, raise and lower. Raise and lower. Now don't worry about lifting up too high, but the key is keeping that side plank and keeping the toes pointing down, the heel pointing above or staying up above the toes. And your challenge is trying to hold that position through your hips and shoulder. And we're going to go for 15 here. So that's 11. We're almost there. And so you're hopefully feeling the side of your glutes, last one, and the side of your leg. Now this side's going to be tough because you might have felt on the last one that bottom leg working. Now it's going to be really working through the movement. Isometrically, it was contracting while closest to the floor, holding us now in our another side plank. Line up the elbow, the knee, hips forward, elbow below that shoulder, side plank, toes down, heel up, raise. And so you hold the side plank, think about your core a little bit, and you might start to feel that bottom leg already working. That's okay. It's tough. Make sure you're getting the glutes to contract, keeping the toes down on this one, the heel up, getting up there, lifting up, getting a good lift. You don't want to go overly vertical. You don't want to lift too much. Don't overdo it. We're almost there. Last one, and down. Now the last exercise. Supers, Supermans, but I like to call them supers. A little more gender neutral. Chest up, thighs up. Now you can have your hands here if it's a little tough for you. But I want you to think about lifting the chest up, keeping it up, getting the quads up, the thighs off the floor, the knees off the floor, the feet off the floor, and then go a little wider with your legs and feet, just a little bit, a little out. You should feel some gnarly action happening right here through your gluteus medius. When it becomes a little too much, bring the legs together. Go out wide, hold. If possible, let's get those arms extended, but if it's too much, bring it in. And keep those legs out wide and up. Come back in. Take a little breather, but continue to keep the thighs up. Last one, go out wide, hold it. Stay wide, stay wide, stay wide, and that is it. Do those moves, those 3 exercises daily or every other day. Whenever you can, it'll really help out to give you that mind-muscle connection for your glutes, which is important because it's the powerhouse to your body. It drives all your movement. From walking to sitting to standing to even running and training. So your glutes are everything. Continue to work on your mobility. Pick and choose what works well for you. Do the stretches when you remember them. 30 seconds each side. Even if it's just one stretch, it'll greatly help. And continue to do that every day. Whatever stretch you remember, however much time you have in any situation that you're in, just bust it out. 1 minute, 30 seconds each side. It's worth it to give you those hours and days of relief. Stay fit, guys. Hydrate. Get a well-balanced meal. Get your good quality sleep. Don't slack on the sleep. Get it. And until next time, stay fit.